welcome to Friday Facts number 411, all about asteroids. And I have my good friend, who is not an asteroid, at least I believe so. How you doing, Mojo?
Hello. I don't think I'm an asteroid.
You
Last
don't
time
think
I
so?
checked, I wasn't.
Good. This time we have the... How many Fs is that?
The 4Fs.
Yeah. So it's the... Facts.
Fergal's facts.
Yeah. So this is the first post by Fergals. We've already looked up his history. Works there remotely from the UK. He mainly does art stuff, so asteroids, art, right up his alley. And we've seen a whole lot of asteroids in previous Friday Facts, but he wants to take us through a journey of how asteroids became to be and how asteroid fields become to be. And I have no idea.
It's going to be one of those very technical ones.
It is going to be technical, but it has pretty pictures too, and I like pretty pictures.
It's true. He's an artist, so it's technical in an more of an artistic sense.
Yeah, and it's hopefully technically got enough pictures that I can understand it. Okay, so asteroids do concern me. We first started with placeholder asteroids that were just the same as any other sprite, 2D pre-rendered image with lights and shadows as part of it. This work looked pretty weird as the asteroids were oriented the same direction, and then they moved an XY plane without rotating. Boring.
Pretty damn boring.
It's a prototype. You don't need pretty, you just need it to work. Okay, so that's step number one. Step number two, they made some changes. So they changed the asteroids to 3 distinct types. And they say they've settled on 3 asteroids, metallic, a carbon, and oxide. Still have no idea how we're going to get sulfur in space, but let's continue. And the metallic's going to be shiny, like metal, and the carbon's going to be dark and gritty, like, you know, carbon and dirt and dust. And the oxide is ice, so it's like shiny mirror.
Shiny again. Different kind of shiny.
Different kind of shiny. Yeah. Metallic asteroids would be heavy, deformed, concave shapes, a bit of metal. Carbon asteroids would be convex messes of gravel and dust. A little bit like merged shapes that blend together. And oxide asteroids with hard, faceted shapes with more straight lines and sharp angles, like ice.
Very crystalline kind of shape.
Yeah. So more details about the shapes, but that's fine. We're going to see the shapes in a second. And then we get 7,680 reasons not to rotate, which I have no idea what has to do with the 3,720 to 1 journey through this asteroid field. No idea, but
a lot of very specific numbers.
And I'm not sure if the numbers are important, but so to do the animations, to make the asteroids rotate in Factorio, every single thing, being the engineer, the train, anything that would tank, car, all those things that rotate, they have 64 frames of rotation. So that is the tank, the train, the engineer, the car. They're all shot with 64 slight variations to the angle that they're looking.
Yep, these are all individual images that are stored in the game.
Yeah.
The sprite, what's called the sprite atlas.
The sprite atlas, yeah. Which means if they added this for 3 more asteroids, it would be an awful lot. An awful lot that your GPU...
680, you could almost say.
Yeah, an awful lot of frames and animation and stuff that your GPU has to grab that sprite out of, what's it called? The sprite matrix?
Yes, the sprite matrix. It's definitely not called the sprite atlas.
Atlas, there you go. Sprite Atlas has to grab that particular sprite out of the Sprite Atlas and then convince your CPU to load that off the hard drive into the RAM, convince the RAM to put that in the GPU memory, and then have that displayed on your screen all within 16.6 milliseconds.
Technically, the game unpacks it when it first loads. It just means that
it's sitting in your GPU
game
memory.
Takes like a minute to load.
Yeah, it's sitting in your CPU, GPU memory until it's used. Yeah.
There's a whole FFF about the difficulties with the Atlas building and all that in, I think it was 2 or 3 or 4 years ago.
It was a while ago. It's a while ago.
A long time ago.
So they went for a different option, which is shaders. So shaders are used all through game development. And the simple answer for the shaders is we take the image without any coloring on it and we apply a height map. So left to right slopes are stored in the right channel and top to bottom slopes are stored in the green channel. So you end up with a height map coloring of, well, what originally was the structure. And then on top of that, you can apply
Psychedelic asteroid.
psychedelic asteroids. And look, I have no issue if we can have psychedelic asteroids. Maybe it's like an April 1st. We're just gonna remove part of the code, so we just for a day or two just runs with psychedelic asteroids. That'll work for me. There's an interesting April. Like let's the game companies do April 1st jokes. That would work all right for this one. And it means that yes, they can very quickly convince or make the sprites rotate, have the lighting move according to the shader. And the shader is all handled by the GPU. GPU is very, very good at working out this maths on the fly. So it's zero performance impact.
Near zero.
Near zero. Yeah.
Just to be really pedantic.
It's the Friday facts. We probably should be pedantic. All right. So it means that, yes,
the Reddit's pedantic enough as it is.
They can rotate things for near zero impact. It also means that if you have many of these on the screen, shouldn't be an issue. Shouldn't be.
The only reason I'd be pedantic is because of that, because inevitably there'll be a mod which says 10 times the asteroids, and suddenly the game runs like arse.
You did ask for it. I've done many things to the Factorio engine, in every single case I asked for it, so I accepted it ran like arse because I asked for it. Yeah, like having all the trees be side by side, completely packed together and start a forest fire. That generally does the trick.
In before redeem for intense asteroid storm.
Yeah. So this gave us a nice 1950s style space opera, because we're missing all the colors. So then they add the colors back bit by bit. So first off, we blend the generated lighting from the normal map into our raw color image, and this gives them a decent-ish result. So we get a little bit of color, but nothing great. And then
like something from mid to late 2000s 3D game.
Yeah, PlayStation 1.
Oh, not quite. Newer than PlayStation. Early, after you're sort of looking Half-Life 2 territory. That sort of lighting.
Is that not PlayStation 1?
Uh,
Is that late PlayStation 1, early PlayStation 2?
It's more PlayStation 2, because PlayStation 1 was more pre-calculated. Pre-calculated. I was thinking about it for a minute, because then I remembered, Half-Life was actually, all the lighting's pre-calculated. It takes hours and or days for it to calculate it on a map.
Okay. So we get a somewhat of a result, but we have a problem that everything looks a little bit flat. You don't have the reflections, the shininess, the things that you're sort of expecting. But we do have shadows. That's the step number one. We've got shadows in, and then when you rotate them, the shadows will work. So then they go to the next step. They simply apply a diffuse color to handle the reflection color and make the asteroids brighter in some areas. So now we have our... hang on, can I slide that one that way? Cool. That one that way. Ooh, game webpage. Okay, leave that one there. Cool. So we have specular only. So this is just the specular update, which is then put on top of the image above, which gives you, like, especially in the ice asteroid, just a bit more shininess. The metal asteroid, a bit more shininess. Carbon asteroid doesn't really do much, but the carbon asteroid has no shiny to start with, so it's probably
it's
okay.
no shiny, so it's not going to change.
Yeah. The ice still looks too solid. Isolating sunlight pass through and scatter it, giving a beautiful blue glow. This is known as subsurface scattering, or SSS. So one more image render pass for those and blend in the areas where light is indirectly hitting. Also a bit too much shadow on all the asteroids. However, this is technically accurate since there's nothing to bounce light around in space. It looks unnatural to our Earth-evolved eyes, so we drop the intensity of the shadow down and add a secondary light source as a complementary angle to the first. So a little bit of trickery, so it looks more realistic, even though it's technically less realistic, but game dev, you got to draw a line somewhere. Like the fact that you can carry around several rocket silos in your back pocket. So with this update, it doesn't do a lot, but I think the ice asteroid, especially the one on the left,
it's probably the most noticeable.
It adds to the ice asteroid. It really doesn't do much to the others.
If you look at the ice asteroids in the distance towards the middle, they sort of pop out a little bit more after the pass.
Yeah, they do.
They're less flat.
Less flat, yeah.
And that's probably the most noticeable effect that I've seen from it.
This is one of those things that we all play Factorio not because of its cool graphics. Don't get me wrong, it's really not because of its cool graphics. But as somebody who's currently playing Works and Resource Server Republic, There's oftentimes I look at different buildings and they just look like a flat image, like 100% a flat image, because the shadows don't move properly. Things don't line up. And it takes a moving of the camera or something else in a second look to go, oh no, it does look okay because I moved the camera and at this angle it looks fine. But at other angles, you're just like, it's just a flat image, like pasted on top of the map. Transport Tycoon style. Oh, sorry, Open Transport Tycoon style. Yeah, although probably worse than that in some cases.
Technically, they don't really have shadows, but yeah, it's sort of hard-coded shadow.
Yeah, it's there are definitely sometimes when, like, just that half a second moment to go, hang on, that looks very, very wrong. Not having those moments is probably a good thing in a lot of games. But with everything now added, we now have we have asteroids that have lighting and shadows and rotation, and everything's done, and it's done neatly on your GPU, rather than having 7,000, 3,000, whatever it was, sprites that needed
7,000 something individual sprites.
7,860. I'm not counting at all. Sprites on your hard drive that need to be loaded into your RAM via your CPU, into your GPU to then rotate constantly in different directions at different speeds, which is your poor GPU. Because every one of those needs to be read and then put together as part of the image and then displayed, rather than feeding in the basic details and say, GPU, apply maths. Do maths on this.
Do math.
Yeah.
Maths with 2 Fs.
Yeah. Yeah, and GPUs, that's all they do. They do maths really, really well. Which brings us to the next section. We have the Space Dust shader. So whilst Jersey Starfield shader and the motion of asteroids went some way towards showing the player the platform was moving, the effect was overall difficult to see. We needed something more obvious and everywhere, but not over the top. One solution would have been the classic warp speed effect from likes of, what was it? Star Who and Dr. Trek?
Star Who or Dr. Trek?
Yeah, Dr. Trek, sorry. And felt a little cartoony and slightly divorced from the pseudo-realistic style of Factorio. So I settled instead on a compromise of some motion blurred micro meteorites and interplanetary dust, presumably from all the exploded asteroids, which, okay, I don't have a problem with this so far.
Don't mind it. I mean, the dust can be a little bit intense at times, but meh. I mean, you want to give the motion the effect of movement.
Look,
so it's definitely doing that.
If we compare this to space exploration, which is what Space Age is often compared to, this is miles and miles and miles above. And miles above. With a few extra miles.
I mean, the lack of robots randomly exploding over your head also makes it miles ahead of space exploration.
Yeah, we just don't have robots in space. Problem solved. They're fueled by...
This is on the planet.
Oh, well, there's no space going past on the planet. Shh. Bad mojo. All right.
I'm just complaining about robot attrition.
I know you are. I just accept it as a cost of doing business. And either do things with belts or it's the cost of doing business. Actually, I wonder... Oh, now you're thinking. Are we going to have robot attrition in space?
We shouldn't. Well, Kvorax has said that stuff like that is a pointless mechanic because you can... Well, again, robot attrition is such a small cost. It's a robot frame and a circuit.
You could do what I do and just brute force your way through it?
Yeah, you can just automatically reinsert robots.
Yeah.
And so the mechanic is completely it's just something that happens in the background. You're not interacting with the mechanic. It's the same with buildings taking damage over time. Robots just deliver repair packs constantly, so you're not facing that mechanic.
Yeah, I agree. It is something I just brute forced my way through. I ignored it and I just made more robots.
Yeah, it's very easy to ignore. There is at least one FFF from even further back where Kvorax talks about it and says, yeah, it's not worth doing for that reason.
Speaking of things that you don't interact with, we were talking about this prior to starting the Friday Facts. The space platforms you don't actually interact with. Like, you get in them and you build them like from a map view pseudo sort of situation where you're inside the cockpit, space platform, bridge, whatever you want to call it, hub thing, but you don't actually get out and place anything.
No, so it's all automated.
You don't really interact with it, which...
Factorio Scorpiuses do all the construction for you.
Oh, we're still hope. Currently, the platform magically builds.
Keeping the dream alive.
Currently, the platform magically builds, which is okay so far. And then the random blue blueprint turns into a real item. We're waiting for some sort of transition there where blue item doesn't randomly magically appear. We're hoping for the Factorio Scorpius or the Factorio Scorpius be meeting us on one planet where it comes and says hi and makes worms look like, child's business.
Turns out they're on the final planet or something.
That's fine by me. That's fine by me. Like, there is an animal called Factorio Scorpius. I need to see it in the game. It should be in the game. I'm surprised it's not a mod yet. It really surprised me.
It's not a mod.
It is not a mod. I'm surprised. Otherwise, I would have played it. But, yeah, so the space platform, like, I want to get out and interact with, because we're going to see guns in a minute, but you don't actually have to get out and shoot asteroids with a gun. Like, we start
and push it when it breaks down.
Well, you start the game in Burner City, where you have to do everything manually. And I'm sort of expecting, like, space platform, and even when you get to a new planet, like, you're gonna have to do things manually again. You might have, your 20 construction robots, but you're not at the stage where you can, like, oh, I need more green circuits. I'm just gonna copy this build of, like, 50 assemblers and paste it back down right beside the existing one, hook up the belts, and magically the boss will have it done before I walk over there. You're sort of back in, like, the Stone Age, so to speak. So when you get to space, you don't have that experience. You're not back in Burner City where you need to suddenly do a whole lot of things that you had automated previously. You need to do them manually, or a new set of tasks you need to do manually. So I feel like the space platform's missing out a little bit. That you don't have to stand.
A little undercooked.
You don't have to stand at the helm with, your SMG out and a rocket launcher in your back pocket, hoping for the best. Like, hoping you don't run across a spaceship killer and you have to load up the nuke and hit the button.
You want to go full John Rambo against the asteroids?
At least for the first trip, yeah. Like, we need to get to space to get space stuff to then build the grabby boys and the rocket engines and everything else, because they're all locked behind space science, which you now have to do in space.
Rambo mode, the mod coming soon.
So, but that means the platform's in space but doesn't move, because it doesn't have engines, it doesn't have grabby arms, it doesn't anything. So, like, yeah. It's just going to sit in space and do space science for the first one. So you have enough space science that you can then make one that actually moves and has grabby arms and can clean up after itself and shoot things as it goes. Yeah.
I think that might be the intention in the first place, though.
Yeah, the first one.
Space science has to be done in space.
They're static.
Yeah.
Like,
the only problem with that is then it's just being space age again, or space exploration again.
Yeah.
With that stupid.
The very first one is boring and just doesn't do a lot. Anyway, so we're trying to create this effect. So one method of creating this would be a huge amount of sparking particles with some motion blur. However, particles take quite a lot of resources, because that's a lot of maths with a lot of maths with a lot of particles, which equals a lot of maths.
And the year of the GPU particle was 2019 as well.
Sure. And since
there were a lot of games with a lot of particles back then.
Since this effect needs to scale with whatever size platform you are viewing, this could result in an exponential increase in cost. Instead, opt to create a single texture file with all the particles on it. In an effort to further optimize, the texture is packed within several other textures used in the shader. This keeps the sample count low while still allowing a lot of detail. So we have shrieky particles, we have normal particles, and then we have slightly moving particles, and then we have dust clouds, and then we have everything combined together. So after we've got everything combined together, by masking out the different red, green, blue, and alpha channels, we can access the packed data that they need, and that gives us this one effect, which has some particles being moved around, some motion blur, some of the clouds. It's a good combination.
Some stuff and junk. And I actually realized this is just like what they used to do with palette swaps on 16-bit era games, like the Sega and the Super Nintendo.
Palette swaps? What do you mean palette swaps?
So you would have the graphics with a bunch of different colors set, but some of them would appear transparent, and then if you do a palette swap, suddenly those transparent colors become colors.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The way they're mapped.
Yep.
You can rotate through, you can create motion and rotations and all kinds of things by just rotating the palette.
Yeah.
Within the graphics chip.
Yeah. So this is simply panning through all the different textures. However, there does still is still all moving at more or less the same rate, which looks weird. So we want to make the specks of dust move at different rates by simply modifying the speed in the panner function. We also didn't want all the specks to move at the same speed. It would look too much like a single cohesive structure. This is where some of the masking textures came in. We can use the image number 1 to selectively mask out the individual particles at different times, which helps sells the illusion of many small things moving independently. Start with a bit of maths. Again, GPU likes maths. To graph a peak around a value, and then we assign the target to a time variable and loop it back around. So this gives us this effect with different things coming in and out fairly randomly. And then when we take that to here, yes, it looks much better. But currently currently using their trail images set 100% all the time, but they should be less blurry if they're moving slowly. Thanks to some pre-planning when creating the image, we do this by cutting out pixels below a threshold. Since the trail image is a linear gradient, that means we control the length pretty easily. We just subtract the target value from the image value. So it means when the rocket ship slows down, because there's drag in space, obviously, don't you know this? If you accelerate to a certain speed and then turn off the engines, there's obviously drag in space age, because space age, we're firing rockets from diesel punk era rockets into space, and that's in a different galaxy that has drag. Okay, it's all written to the law.
It's a galaxy where space is understood by console players.
Sure, it's all written in the law. It's fine if you turn off the engines. There's drag. It also has to do with a very large gravity well, and it's pulling you backwards, and therefore you stop moving forward because you turn off the engines.
Either that, or it's in the same universe as railjacks.
Sure, and if you're firing towards the gravity well, it's pushing you away if you turn off the engines. You don't keep accelerating. It's a thing. Okay. But it means as the ship accelerates, the trails get longer, and as the ships decelerate, the trails get shorter, which, again, just sells the illusion of motion. And that's all they're trying to do. For the record, that's the whole Friday Facts is about. It's trying to sell the illusion of you're moving in space, even though the platform you're standing on is not physically moving inside the game. It's stationary. Like, if you could ping the tile that you're on and then ping 2 tiles beside that, you'll notice that the XY coordinates stay the same because you're not actually moving.
Everything always comes back to blood level 3.
Blood level 3? Okay.
That's the train one.
Oh, is it?
Where the train isn't moving, but the ground around it is a giant conveyor belt.
Okay.
Because blood uses the build engine, which is the same as Duke.
I haven't played that one.
You haven't played Blood? It's a good game.
Okay, I gotta go look up a game once we're done with the Friday Facts. So, we create the process a couple of times, different speeds and scales. We create the force parallax effects, i.e. dust close to the camera is larger and moves more quickly. Now, what we need to do is combine it all together and tie in the intensity of the zoom level so it's not just too distracting when building, and we're done. So, this is the final effect with some guns, taking out some of the asteroids on the way, and I've seen people comment that the dust is a little bit distracting when building, but if you're zoomed in, I think the dust is just not going to show up. It'll be like at a height above the camera.
I can see why they're saying it, but yeah, I don't know yet.
I think if you're zoomed in building, it's going to be at a height above the camera, so it won't affect you. By the same token, I'm also one that builds from map view all the time. Like with the fuzzy edge of the screen effect they've got that I hate, and all the other things that they do. I've just got used to it now, and I just build from space. So I think the random bits of dust.
Fine.
I don't think it's going to affect me. I think
dust only shows up when it's moving anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to be building whilst moving. I guarantee it.
And are you going to be building while moving? Is the ultimate question.
Yeah, of course I am. Of course I am. I'm not going to turn off the engines.
Is it Factorio? When are you not building?
Yeah. This is true.
It's a rhetorical question.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure the walls are put there for useless reasons.
Yeah, that was the remark on the Discord, was that the wall surrounding each gun turret is there for cosmetic reasons.
Because I'm pretty sure walls don't stop asteroids even in space.
Yeah. Unless something's changed.
Yeah.
We also noticed that the hub hasn't changed.
Yeah, it's still got the temporary placeholder, not final graphics.
Placeholder.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to have a Friday Facts that's dedicated to that in the future. So, whilst the dust helps tell the story of the moment, space still feels very 2D, which is funny because we're in a 2D game. While the asteroids perfectly planned with our platform, we need some background elements, more asteroids. Again, we could have just created more asteroids and render that behind the platform and don't collide. But that seems suboptimal, and also I'd be worried that like I'm seeing a pile of asteroids coming up in front of the ship, and I don't know if they're on the same plane as me or they're lower, and I don't know if I need to shoot them or not. And it comes back to the player doesn't need to shoot the gun, which means like whether it's on my plane or not, I don't care because there's nothing I can do about it. The platform's automated. Like there's no player interaction. Yeah, I think we're falling short somewhere. Yep. So instead, I use a technique called texture splattering to create an infinite amount of asteroids from a single texture atlas containing only a few images. This Friday fact is already quite long, so we're going to details, but the function basically splits the screen to a grid and aims to place one asteroid in each with a random offset. For those interested in techniques, there is a wonderful link over to YouTube, which covers the almost exact implementation used here. So we have a hand.
They used Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
It probably applies the same.
I've been watching a number of programming videos on Unreal, and like I don't program at all, but I get the concepts, and I'm
Head exploded yet?
No, not quite. I was watching one on optimization and parallel processing, and funnily enough, I got most of the concepts, actually all the concepts. So maybe I need to take up coding, but that's besides the point. Asteroids, yeah. So we have texture asteroids of all the texture atlases of all the background asteroids, and then the shader splits this image into single asteroids by modifying the UV coordinates of the texture sample. We create a grid of randomized UVs and place these asteroids within them. However, if an asteroid is placed across the boundary of two cells in the grid, it will be cut off. So we need to reference anything in neighboring cells to work out whether you're overlapping or not. In fact, this can be managed by simply using the function of plus minus one in any given direction. So I'm pretty sure if the asteroid is red, it doesn't exist at all.
That's the impression I was getting.
Yeah, I'm not sure because
I'm not sure about that one on the left, which is split in half.
Well, it's got any red on it, so I'm pretty sure it means it doesn't exist. Pretty sure, but then like, there's this tiny little one this one. I'm like, why don't you exist? You should exist.
Oh, then it also says overlapping samples colored in red.
Yeah.
I don't fully understand what I'm looking at. I might have to. I think this is one of those things where to make sense of it, you need to look at the video.
I did the video.
Do the extra reading.
With each asteroid random speed of rotation, motion, and scale, and we do the whole thing again with a different scale for parallax. We then do the same with the same calculation for dynamic light as before, and we have infinite fields of asteroids. Okay, infinite fields of asteroids I get, but I still don't understand the red thing at all. None.
It's just extra oxidey.
Yeah, I don't, yeah. I don't get it. But I do understand that they have two different levels. So we have the large asteroids, which is like one step down from where the platform is. And then we have the little ones, which is a second step down. And if we go back to the video, like you can see that we have at least a step down, well, two steps down here and here. And the space platform stops. The ones closest to us stop the first, and the ones furthest away stop later. I don't know if I like that. I don't like that delay in the two different
things.
Two different things stopping at different times.
Oh yeah, this does have the background ones.
It does have them, and they're hard to see, and that's fine.
They are hard to see.
Which
is exactly what you want.
It is
to be
apart from the top one stops, and the bottom ones keep going faster. I don't.
You probably won't notice in game.
I probably won't notice in game unless it's like waste of resources where I suddenly look at something, I'm like, oh, that's flat. Oh no, it's not flat. It's actually 3D, but I'm wrong angle or something, and it looks dead flat.
See, the problem there is you're playing workers and resources.
Actually, it's a really good game. It's a really good game. It requires a lot of patience and a lot of forethinking. And today I played Hexahedra, which is a Zachtronic style game. You know, Zachtronics. Yeah, one of them. Really, really complicated. My brain was melting after an hour. But it's a good game. It's one that I could recommend if you're interested in those sorts of games. Probably look at. But it requires a lot of thinking, and work as a resource is the same. You need to plan 5 steps ahead of a game that I don't fully understand. So planning 5 steps ahead is very awkward and very hard to do, but I like that challenge. Also, like simple things like running a conveyor belt in most games is made to be easy, and work as resources, it's not really easy, but that sort of adds to the challenge. And I know I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. Mojo hates it, but that's fine. I'm enjoying it. The whole flat
Yeah,
image.
that's because I don't like Greg Tech style games.
I've never
Greg
played
Tech
Greg
being
Tech.
the Greg Tech being the Minecraft mod.
Yeah, I've never played Greg Tech, so not an issue. Okay, so we have Asteroid Fields. They go on and on forever. It's background art. It's literally, well, I say background art when it's between you and the platform, so technically it's foreground art at the same time. But it's art. It's art. It's just there to give you the impression of moving when you're on the space platforms. And as Mojo pointed out, I don't think that you're going to notice small things sooner or later, like the dust.
Yeah. Because I'm drawing this on experience because we've been there before where we get these really high resolution graphics that we've been presented. I think this was for version 15, and then we get them in game and you really couldn't notice it because you're so much further zoomed out than what you see in the FFFs.
Well, way more important than that, we had clouds added to Factorio, okay? They got updated, they got fixed, they got improved, way better, okay? Way better. When was the last time you were building on map view, zoomed right the way out so you could see a cloud passing over your screen, and you noticed? My point has been made.
I turned off clouds in like 2016.
Yeah, you don't count. You're running the same version forever. Clouds are in there, and they're turned on. Like clouds are in Captive Industry, right? Like Captive Industry. They were added in update number 2. And people were like, yeah, I don't know about it. You know, having a giant cloud scroll across your screen when you're building. I've got them on. I couldn't even tell you they're there. I can definitely tell you when the rains come in and we get cloudy weather and everything goes cloudy. But a individual cloud just scrolling across the spot where I'm building, couldn't tell you. It adds to the game. It adds to the ambience. And I don't even notice they're there 99.9% of the time. And I think with your dust, you're not going to notice 99.9% of the time.
I think once you get it in game, it won't be nearly as noticeable as these renders.
Yeah, the asteroids stopping at different speeds. Yeah. These stop and these keep roll. Yeah, I'm going to.
There's nothing else to see.
Yeah,
you don't have a space platform with a factory to see.
Yeah, I'm still gonna notice it. All right, that's it. I'm gonna call this Friday Facts here.
All right.
Unless you got more. You got more?
No, I got nothing.
Okay, and we're still going for Biters next week, or are we going for Next Planet next week, or are we going for the Hub getting some artwork next week?
Oh, that's a long shot.
Or we've had rocket sulfur in space.
Sulfur rocks.
How do we get sulfur in space? Because we've now got 3 asteroids confirmed. We have the metallic asteroid, which will be your iron and copper, your carbon asteroid, which might have sulfur, but if you've got carbon and sulfur like on the asteroid, does that mean that when they hit the platform, they're like halfway to a grenade? So they make more damage? And then we have the ice ones, which I'm assuming just have ice in them, not sulfur.
And then it turns out that the ice ones has sulfur in it.
It might. Like, the carbon has essentially just coal currently. I can't think of what else they'd add in the carbon style asteroid.
I suppose if it was practical, it would be in the carbon one.
Do we need rock in space? Stone? Does one of them have stone? Do they all have stone as a byproduct?
They might have stone as a byproduct.
Like,
I actually have a feeling that I'm going to have to do some background research in this. I have a feeling we've actually seen where the sulfur comes from previously.
No, we did post Friday Facts exploring through the Friday Facts. I haven't seen sulfur, but so there are choices. We've still got 2 planets to see. We've got the hub to see. We've got biters to see. We've got the rumored extra weapons to see. There's the arm to the new armor that we saw at some stage. previous Friday Facts, it was hidden halfway between behind a Foundry thing. So there's still a lot of content to add in the Friday Facts, at least. So, Mojo, after all that, and you have no idea how you can tell me how 3,720 has anything to do with 7,680, apart from
it's not divisible
half.
by 2 or something.
No, it's not even half. I have no idea what one number has to do with the other. But after hearing all that and all your options for next week, what's your bet for next week?
I'm starting to warm up to the idea of another planet reveal or more planet information.
I think that was your bet last week as well, and you're wrong again.
It was one of them, yeah. It feels like we're approaching that point.
The biters are weapons.
Or maybe
it has to be biters. It has to be biters. I need biters.
Yeah, see, that's I'm going to put down 2. It's either a planet or it's more platform.
More platform? I don't think there's anything to add to the platform. Like, there's the hub, which is like, this is what the hub looks like. Oh, is how to get down from space.
Down from the space, yes.
Yeah, that's not added yet. So we don't know how to get down. We go up in a rocket, and you go down by... I don't think crashing the platform into the surface is the correct answer.
It just teleports. It's boring. And I sort of file that under platform information.
Well, they did say that's how they were doing it, during one of the prototypes. Things just appeared up and down. And then up with a rocket, and then down with undisclosed, unknown. Okay, all right, we're going to leave this Friday Facts here. We'll be back next week for more Friday Facts with hopefully biters, maybe with space platforms, maybe with another planet-esque reveal. We'll see.
We'll see in a week's time. Or dogs with bees in their mouth, and they shoot bees when they bark.
Not lasers?
No, not lasers. It has to be bees.
Okay, all right, fine. Bees it is. All right, that's it. We're out. Thanks for watching. See you next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.